Yo, what's going on? This is a build that I'm using for today's video, and the subspecies I use is the 20% spikes damage. I'm also going to explain the build and detonate and why I use this specific build. As you can see here, I'm 1v1 in a DASP. Now, the thing about detonate is it converts all the bleed that you do into just raw damage. So you want to pop it when someone is sprinting. That's probably the best time, is it's going to increase the amount of bleed they have on them. Now, I don't use bloodlust over the other two because it only increases the amount of bleed you do by a couple of seconds, so it's not really that big, whereas the other two give you 10% armor and 10% damage. Especially if you are grouped with multiple Kentros, I definitely would recommend spiked gathering. You would also be missing out on 5% damage, which is actually quite a lot. So I would use fresh blood if I was solo and spiked gathering if I'm playing in a group setting. Now for the hide, I use dense plates. Since the new changes, they have put down the Kentro's healing rate, and it was already really slow, but dense plates increases your healing rate by 50%, which is really big. Also, they've just made bleed less effective for pretty much everything because they increased everything's bleed heal rate by a decent amount and just nerfed the hides that would stop bleed. So yeah. Now you could use resilient spikes, increases bleed heal, fracture heal, poison heal, venom heal and toxin heal by 20%. But the problem is, because of how slow the Kentro is, if you survive a fight, it's going to take you a really long time to get back into there with full health, and especially since the changes to combat, you can now heal through combat. Bleed is very good, and having a good healing is also really helpful, because that way you can just heal in combat and they can't because you've got bleed, so you just keep bleed on them while you're just healing the whole entire time. I also use long distance runner over brace legs, as I do think that when you do run out of stamina as a Kentro, you're as good as dead. Now, brace legs is really good, especially going uphill and downhill, but for me I just prefer long distance runner. You could change this up if you like, but I'm just going to stick with the long distance runner. And for my backline, I do use the death rattle, as it increases my damage by 40%. It does use stamina, but it is really good for standing your base and taking the fight. Whereas your other option is Duke, which is also pretty good, but I feel like over a long fight it will just take a lot of your stamina, and for something like this I just feel like the Duke isn't very good compared to the 40% damage that you gain, which is an insane amount. Now for my two tail attacks, I just have the basic tail attack, as it's very consistent, there's decent damage, there's bleed, and it's just got the shortest cooldown out of everything. And then obviously I use detonate, as it's a must have for the build. Now the other two are puncture, which puncture is actually pretty good, but it just doesn't work with this build unless you have multiple people where someone can use a normal tail attack and puncture. But if you're just solo, you're gonna have to run the detonate and the normal tail attack. Now your last option is the charge tail attack, but for me it's just way too predictable, and any good player is just going to move out the way and let you swing away, and it's going to be a lot harder to land than the normal basic one, unless you're fighting an apex or something just that can't move around or has no stamina to move. Then obviously I just use the normal spit, as that's your only option in the herbivore diet. So that was it pretty much for the build. Now it's just going to be gameplay and me explaining it. Now you did see me 1v1 a DASP earlier, and I guarantee you no other 2-slot could do it as easily as the Kentro can. It's not like I did anything crazy or quirky, it was just very basic tail hit and detonate, and that's what killed him. Now I've also beat Sukkos in a 1v1, it's very possible. For example, my friend earlier was on his Kentro and he 1v2'd a Sukko and a Metri. guarantee you no other two-shot could even do that, no matter how bad the player is or how good the other player is. The only bad matchup for the Kentro is the Picno, because it has that big head slam and it has the charge, and the Kentro doesn't have a good turn radius. So that's kind of the problem that you face when fighting Picnos, is they do have those big attacks that do that big amount of damage, and you just lack the mobility and turn radius to get out of the way of those hits. Anything else you can just run away from or simply kill, so it's not a problem at all. But the thing is about Picno, it's faster than the Kentro, but it's very similar in stamina and how long it can run for. So yeah, the way that you want to play the Kentro is you want to tail kite, but at the same time you can be aggressive to use that tail, especially that detonate as well. So what I mean by that is just running right past their side and using that directional tail hit to land hits, and just keep running around your target, and then whenever they're just consistently running around and bleeding, you hit them with that detonate to get the most out of it. Now keep in mind the spit that you have decreases people's damage by like 15% if I'm not wrong, but it can stack up to 2 times, so you have to be careful, because if you hit 2 stacks of spit, it gives them immunity for like either a minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes, something like that. I'd have to check again, but yeah, so just keep that in mind. What I would do is hit them with the spit at one time, let the minute go by, let that spit come off, and then just let your friend spit on them, and then just keep switching. It's better to have 15% damage reduction from someone for consistently throughout the fight than 30% for a minute and then immune to it for 5 minutes. Also, you can play the long game with the Kentro. Now that they've changed the way combat works, now you can heal through that combat timer. So all you have to do is just keep them bleeding, and you can just heal while they're not able to do anything. And that way you can just get all your health back while they're healing nothing, and you can afford to take damage from the bigger apexes and just out heal them over time and just kill them that way. Now I feel like I've covered enough about the build and how it should be played, so I think I'm just going to get to the gameplay. And here you can see I'm fighting a Rex. He does want to be friendly, but obviously I'm trying to get footage for the video just to show how good the Kentro really is. And I just start 1v1 in this Rex. So my main goal here is to avoid the front side and just get hits on his side. Also just bait out those bites. That way he just, he misses and then I get the hit. So I take no damage and he takes bleed and stuff. Also I did pop the death rattle here for that 40% extra. Now I do want to avoid the bone snap, as if he hits me with that, it's over. Like, there's just nothing you can do. The Rex obviously does a ton of damage, so you just don't want to be getting bit by the Rex. And when you bone snap, it takes your ability to be able to run away. But yeah, now this guy does put himself into a wall, which is, he actually gets really lucky here. Like, this is the perfect spot for him to be in. Honestly, probably couldn't find a better spot to be in, even if you tried. Now it is a 1v1 as of now, but my friend does get on the game and he ends up coming over to Savannah. He was pretty close already in Desolate Pass, but the Waystone was free right here, so I do end up just waystoning my friend, and we do end up killing him together. Obviously he's still, got himself against this wall, which just makes it really hard. But over time, if I just keep that bleed on him and heal, he's gonna be forced to make a move. And you can see he occasionally tries to do something and does move away from the wall, which just gives me openings to get free hits and stuff like that. Now I quickly want to talk about Clamp. in what can clamp and what can't clamp Kentro. Now obviously the Hatsy cannot, but both Sarkos and Rexes can clamp a Kentro, so you have to be very careful when you are near the water or when you're fighting the Rex. Now the Rex does clamp my friend here in the water, but the thing is, I've already put this Rex super low to where it didn't matter, and clamping my friend was the worst thing he could have done, and ends up getting himself killed, and we get the kill on the Rex. Now I instantly saw a Styrak running, and I started chasing him. The problem is, you're going to see that there's a Dasp here now, and the Dasp also has a Cardinal friend, and you can see we're not the fullest of health. Honestly, I probably should have just kept running rather than turning back. Now I did make some mistakes in the very start of the fight, so I just take a lot of unnecessary damage. Now I did also pop Death Rattle because I thought I would have to make a stand, but luckily my friend took the fight to them and took their attention, so that way he put up a really good fight against the Pycno and the Dasp and put them low enough to where they didn't want to chase. Also, the whole time I was chasing the Styrak and I made him run right into my friend and he got the kill on him. Now you could see, obviously we didn't kill the Dasp and the Pycno yet. My friend only put them low, and he went to go deliver the Styrak's trophy after he got the kill on him. So I was practically in a 1v2 for a little bit, and I wasn't full health either. Now my friend ends up taking a lot of fall damage trying to get down to me to help me in the 1v2, and it kind of messes up the fight for us because I wasn't full health to begin with, and he practically has 20% HP. Now even though with that, we still take the fight and chase these guys just to show confidence, and we honestly thought we could win this fight. And you can see we put on a beating on the Dasp, and he just isn't going to be able to outrun us as we have way more stamina and we're a little bit faster. The Pycno can, but the Dasp we can guarantee kill. Even with the HP not being on our side, you can see we've got these guys on the run, which just shows how crazy strong Kentro detonate build really is. Now at any point here, me and my friend could peel off, and it would be very risky for the Pycno to come after two Kentros. But I really wanted to get the kill on this Dasp, so I just keep chasing them, which honestly is a mistake on my part. I should have just left the fight considering all the disadvantages we were at, and left it for another time. Now the Pycno does end up charging at me, and I get the sound cue of the Pycno charging, and I run right into the charge by trying to dodge it. So yeah, that was a mistake on my part, but it was a really good fight. Both Pycno and Dasp said GG in the chat, so that was nice. I don't think they were with the Styrak at all. It was just a coincidence. So yeah. Now me and my friend make our way to GP and we start fighting this Iguanodon, which is a decent fight. It's not impossible. And you can see he's got a Apache with him as well, which makes it a little bit harder, as if we do end up getting low from the Iguanodon, that Apache could punish us, especially if he saves his health for moments like that. Not only that, they also have an Anno, which makes it a little bit harder, especially if he's running a team build. He could increase the Iguanodon's damage by 25% and its armor by 25%. Now, not only that, we do have a baby adolescent Stego with us, but that's not really going to be much help, as he doesn't have the health or the damage yet / combat weight to actually be useful for us. He is there and it is nice, but it's not anything crazy, you know, it's not like an adult Stego. So yeah. Now you do see a random Alia come about that actually starts chasing the Apache, which is really nice. But this Iguanodon just runs to the GP river, and the GP river is usually just filled with people overpacking and being friendly. so he uses that to his safety. So we just run away and get our health back. In the meantime, our Stego friend got himself killed while we were healing up AFK, so that was really unfortunate. But we got there and we just start fighting the Iguanodon and the Anno. Now we do have a fully grown Stego on the way to come help us, and you can also see these guys have got a few more patches now to help them as well. Now the great thing about Spiked Gathering is that it can be activated by either Stegos, Kentros or Miragayas, so all three of those work really well in a group and all have their own unique style and advantages to bring to your team. So you could do some different type of combinations, but me and my friend like to just run 2 Kentros as we're majority a duo. Now another way to make the Kentro absolutely broken is just running 1 Lambio on your team. Obviously it gives you heal calls and stuff, but the main thing is the hide that the Lambio has. It increases all Kentros, patches, Camptos, Struffies armor by 25% within like 75 meters, which is crazy amounts. Here me and my friend are chasing the Patchy, hoping that he would make some sort of mistake, but he just ended up getting away on top of a rock. Now there was a duck isolated from the rest of everyone else, and honestly he seemed like a pretty bad player as his defense was just horrific, and he consistently was just running, making that bleed so much worse and making it super easy for us to detonate on him. So yeah, this guy just seemed like a new player and had no idea what he was doing, which is honestly just such an easy kill when it's a 3v1 and there's no water nearby for this guy to escape either. So he's pretty much dead. The best thing he can do is back himself up against this wall, and that is what he does. But because we have a fully adult Stego here now, he can just keep charging up that charge tail attack that the Stego uses, and he's just going to get heaps of damage onto a stationary target, and a lot of it is going to do bleed damage as well. So I can use that detonate to convert it into just pure raw damage, and it's just going to be a super easy kill. And there's not really much you can do in this situation besides play near the water or just have more players helping you around. But yeah, you can see he just drops dead. Now we do go back to GP River, and you can see that there's a Spino fully resting here, so I try and get the hit. I don't know how that missed, but yeah. And he does get back and fully stands up, and you can see the whole group is here now to come save him. And my friend is already pretty low, which is it's just not good to start the fight. And I can 1v1 this Suko, especially as most mega packs are just filled with horrific players, and this guy seemed just like another one of those. Even though they do have a Titan here, a Suko and an Anno, we have 2 Kentros and a Stego, which should be able to put up a decent fight. But you can see I get caught in that stupid move, which is honestly super broken right now. It just stun locks you and there's literally nothing you can do. Super annoying, super zero skill at all. It's just a nightmare for smaller dinos as they just get stun locked the whole entire time. Now I did make my way back here, and you can see we were already low from a different fight as we took a massive fight, and these 2 Tyrannotitans showed up that were also a part of that GP River mega pack, and it's really annoying. Hopefully soon they can add that system they were talking about, the devs, obviously the matchmaking, to prevent these packs from happening. Obviously there's still going to be natural mega packs, especially in GP, but it's going to be a lot better than it was before. There's no longer going to be these massive Discord mods, just 20v1ing you. It's going to be really good. Even though with the low health, we still took the fight. It's just why not. We've also started to add a little bit of music in the background, just to make it a little bit more interesting. Yeah, so if you guys like it, just let me know if you don't, and comment down below as well. yeah, now I'm gonna get back to the gameplay. Now even with the low health that you have as a Kentro, you can still put out a bunch of damage, especially when people sprint around and there's two of you guys just putting on a consistent bleed. And even though obviously they have nerfed bleed by increasing the bleed heal of all the dinosaurs, it's still pretty good since the combat changes, so bleed is still very useful. Now you can even see that we're actually putting up a beating on this one Titan, and these guys are both full health before they even got here. We were like 30%, which is crazy. And then you can see they've got the Anno as well, so it just shows that it's just the exact same group. Honestly, I feel like these guys weren't even actually a Discord group. I just feel like that's GP for you. Anyone that attacks anyone gets insta-killed, unless they all mutually agree to pick one person off because they're hungry. So yeah. Now my friend did die, but I decided that I'm just gonna try and get the kill on this Tyranno Titan. And you can see the rest of the stuff is waiting here. Now I catch this guy resting and I get a hit on him, and it still doesn't kill him, and I get a few more, and this guy's just tanking it. And then you can see a Sucrose here and a baby Spino, and I get another hit and I still don't kill him, and then I just get stuck on everyone else and I end up dying. Now here, my friend was 1v2ing a Dasp and an Eeltrike. The Eeltrike was hidden in the cave and didn't come out. Now, he already put on a good amount of damage on the Dasp. Honestly, if I was this Dasp, I would have stood in my base and took the fight, as running is going to be the worst thing to do, especially that he can't outstam Kentros, and we are a little bit faster than him by 25. So it's pretty pointless to run away and waste all of his stamina. At least if he was going to run, he should run and hit, so like switch. What I mean by that is while you're running, just get a heavy bite going and precise stun back into the Kentro and get a lot of good damage in. But yeah, you can see we killed that guy very easily, and he instantly, literally like 2 minutes went by and this guy showed up again. Now I don't know what he was expecting to do when he couldn't even beat one Kentro, let alone two. So yeah, pretty bad decisions by him, but either way, we take the fight. And his main goal here now is, once again, he's just running, pretty stupid. He will go for a cliff, as that's probably the better thing you could do, especially if you could knock us off with the tail hit, as tail hits do knock back. So make us take a lot of full damage maybe, and that would probably be his best way of survival. Or maybe even putting himself up against knee-deep water to where he can still stand and it forces us to swim. That way we're just pretty much stationary, because of the swim speed is obviously garbage on Kentro and a lot of other land carnivores, or land dinosaurs, sorry. Yeah, you can see he actually landed a good bite on me, but I do end up getting the detonate on him and just killing him right then and there, and he falls off the cliff. Now here my friend runs into an aloe, and I'm just making my way over as I was a little bit behind. Now, and then a conch and a meg also show up to help this aloe, which is still a very winnable fight for us just because of how broken the detonate is. The amount of bleed you put on people, especially when they sprint, is crazy. So, and you can see that this meg comes about. And it's honestly a pretty hard fight, but in any other two slots that fight the Kentro have a very rough time on actually killing it, because of how just like you've got decent health, you've got pretty good combat weight for a 2 slot. Pretty sure it's the heaviest 2 slot of them all, and that bleed as well with the detonate plus the death rattle that gives you that 40% damage. So you just decimate all the other 2 slots. So yeah. Now, the conch is still around, he's just being a pest, he's actually not really putting any damage on to us. Not really a threat, it's the aloe that is actually able to do anything against us. But he also can't run away, so he's pretty done for if we just play it right and get the hits on him. And you can see he's probably out of stamina by now, just isn't sprinting at all. Or he was just full of bleed. But yeah, now we move on to GP and we take this fight with the spars, which is actually a pretty interesting fight. Honestly, like I said before, no other 2-slot could probably take down the bars, maybe besides the Kilo because of its broken shred where it jumps on, but it's very situational because if there's more than one and you run out of stamina as in a Kilo, you're pretty dead. But yeah. Now, the bars is a pretty hard fight for anything because he's just such a tank. He actually does a lot of damage, both from the front and the back. Especially sweep, I was surprised this Spars wasn't using more of the sweep. Pretty sure sweep literally got buffed, its damage got buffed. So yeah. The annoying thing about fighting the bars, not only is it strong and does good damage, it also just has calls that help its heal, bleed heal, right? So it just makes your bleed a lot less effective. Also has another call to deafen you, so to prevent you from using like death rattle and stuff. And it also just has that 25% armor increase, which is really good, especially in a group setting. So yeah. Now, even though this guy's putting up a really good fight and gets us really low, we can just play the long game because of bleed now. So obviously we can heal through combat. But once you put bleed on someone, no matter heal calls or whatever, they just cannot heal. So that's what we do, we kind of just put bleed on and I tell my friend to relax. And we just let that bleed go through while we just get our health back. Obviously I want to get as much as possible of the bleed, just to keep it on as long as possible. But the thing is, those calls that he has really makes it so much harder to do that. Now we get some health back, just barely any. We're both literally one hit. So if he gets one good hit on us with any of those tails, we are 100% dead. Luckily he is missing a lot and he doesn't really know who to focus on. So it kind of just creates openings for me and my friend to get a couple of free hits while he's not looking. And you can see I've got literally a slither of HP. You can barely see it. So yeah. Now we could just out-heal this guy at this point and play it slow, but we just want to finish the fight because you just never know when something else is going to show up and maybe kill you. Just, you know, third party doesn't even have to be a friend of his, it could just be a random patch. He could kick us one time and the fight is over. And you can see my friend traded with him.